Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week of September 22nd here. Um, our artist for this week is Kara Walker. So, Kara Walker was born in 1969 in Stockton, California, and she actually grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Her father was an artist, and she has early memories of sitting in his lap while he was drawing and in their garage studio, and then deciding at an early age that she wanted to be an artist too. She's a painter, a silhouettist, a printmaker, installation artist, and filmmaker. And Walker's work is going to explore the concepts of race, gender, sexuality, and identity. So in this image here, we can see Kara Walker in front of some of her work in the background. What she is most famous for are these cut paper silhouettes that are then taped or plastered up to the wall of the gallery for the exhibition. And her work is really interested and kind of plays with some of the imagery and the notions of the antebellum South. So like the Gone with the Wind, kind of the romanticized um, Southern view that we have in our country. Issues around slavery, liberation, and then she explores how those concepts shape her experiences as a black woman. So these um, images in the background are silhouettes, and that's just like a black. The positive space is black, while the negative space is white. And her one of her strengths here in her work is she plays with these competing ideas of using these silhouettes to conceal while also being at times very explicit in what she does show. So this first piece that I'm going to show you, this is part of it. This is called Gone, an historical romance of a civil war as it occurred between the dusky thighs of one young negress and her heart. She made this in 1994. She worked in a bookstore for a while after graduating college, and in that experience was interested in these like the romance novels and the covers of them, and then also exploring those notions of what it meant to be black and playing with a lot of the imagery of that time period of the antebellum South. And so she says that her works um, portray and depict images and are based off of images and not facts. And so as you look, you can kind of see some of these stories unfolding in her pieces, but she never claims to have any factual basis to them, but instead is relying on these kind of handed down stories and cultural artifacts. And so here is that piece. I'm just going to refer to this as Gone, but here is that piece in its entirety in the gallery. And so we can see that there's some interesting things going on here. And there's a lot of like caricatured forms of individuals. And so this is how big this would be. This is what we call a gallery view, where there are people experiencing this. You can see there's a rope up in front of it because this is cut paper, just plastered up to the wall. It is very fragile, and because of the nature of her work and because of some of the cultural sensitivities, the museum just goes through an extra layer to make sure that people aren't getting up close to them. But you can see that her work tends to be all-encompassing. You could even classify her as an installation artist because as she produces these things, they are very much immersive installations. Speaking of some of her installations, one of her most well-known artworks is called Darkytown Rebellion. And yes, that name might make some of you cringe, and that's essentially what she's going for. So she's working off of some of the concepts and some of the stories of like slave rebellions and is creating these stylized silhouettes. And so in this, there's a figure that's like lost a leg, there's some sexual acts happening, but because of this concept of silhouetting, she is concealing while also revealing these creatures, these not these creatures, these um, acts of incredibly explicit things. And this Darky Town Rebellion is both cut paper and projections, and you can see the colors projected there. And so this is in a room in the gallery where when you walk into the room, you're actually walking in front of the projector, and your shadow becomes a part of this piece of art. So as you are standing there viewing these illustrations on the wall, um, you are becoming a part of that artwork. Another one here is called Grub for Sharks, a concession to the Negro populace. And this is based off of a J.M.W. Turner painting. He was a romanticist in the 1800s who created a painting where during the slave trade, um, slavers on their ships could stand a certain amount of like lost slaves or slaves that died in the process of sailing across. Um, but there is a pretty common practice of throwing like sick or dying slaves overboard in order to like lighten the ship. And so the J.M. Turner painting is actually a ship running from a typhoon or a hurricane and throwing like sick slaves overboard in order to lighten that. And so her piece here is working off of the J.M.W. Turner painting. And we can see that kind of swirling typhoon hurricane in the center there. And this is a piece that wraps around the three walls of this gallery. So if we look just straight ahead, we can see her silhouettes here taped up or plastered up to the wall for Grub for Sharks. So I've got some questions for you, and I'm going to type these in the Google Classroom. But I want you to think about this and give me a sentence or two for each of these. A sentence is fine because I know that I'm throwing a lot of questions at you here. So, do you feel like Walker's work with silhouettes is revealing or concealing? So, what I mean by that is, does it show more than it hides, or does it hide more than it shows? Second question is, Walker says her work deals with images and not facts. What does that mean? What does that mean as we view art, to come at it from an image standpoint and not a factual standpoint? Third question, and I want you to feel free to be personal with this one, but does Kara Walker's work make you uncomfortable? And if so, why? I know that there are aspects of her work that make me uncomfortable, and I'm just curious as to your thoughts on it. And then the last one is, what other feelings do you get when viewing or when discussing Kara Walker's work? So, post your thoughts by Saturday, and I will see you in class.